All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started here tonight. So I'm Rochelle. I'll introduce myself a little bit later, but we want to kick it off with a song, and we have a special guest tonight that's going to be singing for us, Tamara Anderson. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over for our beautiful song for the evening.
Hi, thank you for having me in the space. Not gonna let capitalism turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. I'm not gonna let capitalism turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on marching, fighting till it all goes away. Not gonna let college debt turn me around, oh, turn me around. Turn me around, not gonna let college debt turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on marching, walking till we all debt free. Not gonna let no president turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. Not gonna let no president turn us around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on marching, fighting till we get democracy.
Yo, that was amazing. I have goosebumps over here.
We all on mute and give Tamara a big applause just for a
Oh
second.
my
God. Bravo.
And I just want to say Tamara's been in this fight for so long with us here in Philadelphia, one of the Debt Collective branches. So Tamara, thank you so much. Such an honor and pleasure.
Thank you, Tamara. That was beautiful. So dope. All right. Excellent kickoff to this event. As I said, we want this to be participatory. We want everyone's voice heard tonight. We opened up with a Padlet. If you haven't had a chance to just answer the question in the Padlet, what would student debt cancellation mean to you? These are our individual whys, right? Student loan debt, it's literally a threat to the survival of poor people, of working class people, and that's why we're here today. So we have to continue telling these stories. We have to continue to share our common struggles so that we can realize our collective power. And that's the purpose of this Padlet. So your response to what does debt cancellation mean to you, it's gonna be a reality. That's why we're here today. And I want you all to just notice, we say debt cancellation. We don't talk about debt forgiveness, right? And there's a reason for that. We aren't asking. There's no asking for forgiveness. No. We're here.
I have this little public, I could try to find a cheap
one. Just mute yourselves. We're here, again, not asking for forgiveness. We want these ideations to be our reality. I'm gonna read a couple of these. What would debt cancellation mean for you? A release from the anxiety of debt looming over my head and my family's head. My two siblings and I would be free of nearly $300,000. I would be elated and emboldened. Home ownership. I would be able to buy a home and save. I could ease a lot of stress. It would mean I'd have more freedom to make mistakes, take chances, do weird things, freedom to live. So powerful. And I want to keep our focus, right? Keep our whys in view, because we're demanding justice. We're demanding justice together, and we're here to win today. We're here to win. So welcome everybody. I am Rochelle, Dr. Brooks, either way, I'm fine with either. And I have $250,000 alone in debt. I'm a first generation college student, so I didn't have a blueprint. I didn't have a lot of resources. I didn't have a lot of knowledge about how to be successful, how to survive in life. So I kind of had to figure it out. And it led me in a worse off position than where a lot of my family and friends are who didn't decide to go to college, right? So I thought I was making all of the right decisions. And initially, I thought this is an individual, I made a mistake. But the more I spent, learning about things, I realized it's a systemic failure. One of the things that I learned is Black women are only paid 61 cents for every dollar of white men. Over time, Black women's student debt compounds, and it worsens the disparities and inequities that we witness all over this nation. And after 12 years, the typical white male has paid off 44% of his student loan debt, while the typical Black woman balance has grown 13%. So while other people are paying debts, their balances are decreasing. And it was my lived experience. And I was seeing this balance increase, right? So I couldn't pay the debt. And I realized that my inability to pay the debt could be used as leverage. So that's when I politicized my inability, and I declared myself as a Biden Jubilee striker. So there's quite a few of us now. It started off as the Biden 100, but we've grown in numbers, and that's why there's so many of us here today. So thank you again, welcome. Before we get started, I'm gonna just go over some norms and agreements here today. If you can just stay muted while in the main Zoom room, we're gonna have breakout rooms and we'll break off. But while in the main Zoom, there's quite a few of us, if you can just stay muted. Acknowledge privilege, active commitment to anti-oppression, step up and step back. What that means is if you're taking up space and you realize other folks haven't had an opportunity to speak, just allow other folks to do that. Call in, not out, zero disrespect. We're all gonna have differing of opinions, even though we're here for the same purpose. If there are differences of opinion, especially in the breakout rooms, just be sure to call in with love and care. If there's a question about acronyms or terms, please explain. If you do want to speak, if we're just asking to use stack, so just type stack in the chat, and the facilitator within the breakout rooms will create the space for folks to speak. And then we would want to ensure that this is a safe and brave space. I like to use the word brave because it's not always easy to talk about things like this. And we're congregated here. And I want to just ensure that everyone has the space to be themselves and ask questions for clarity. All right, so welcome everybody. And I'm going to introduce our co-host, our co-facilitator for tonight, Mr. Jason.
Thank you, Rochelle. Good to see everybody here. Thank you so much for joining. Just a couple of notes before we get into everything. I want to just go over again, like why we are here and the importance of this first slide that you see. You are not alone. So one of the things that we know as debtors, and I think like Rochelle, I'm at like $240,000 right now in student debt. But one of the things that we know as debtors is that debt can isolate us. And so what's really important is that we have collective gatherings like this and that we build power collectively, because individually, we're not going to win any struggle against the debt system, whether it be student debt, credit cards, or whatever. We need to come together and build collective power. And that's one of the reasons why we're here, to work together for collective liberation, collective debt cancellation. So you are not alone. We are not alone. We're here to talk amongst ourselves, amongst ways to build power, to strike debt, to cancel debt, and to go on with our lives in a much more liberatory way. So to emphasize, we're not here to do a ton of analysis. We're here to talk about how to get shit done. In other words, like this is the moment. Like this is the moment we've been building towards. This is the moment that we've been organizing for. This is the moment that we've been mobilizing for. We have a position right now that we haven't had since this struggle began. Hannah's going to talk more about that, but this is the moment where we want to talk about strategy, about how we will win. And so the main goal of tonight is to talk about different ways that all of you on this call can hop into different groups that's going to lead us to debt liberation, that's going to lead to debt cancellation. And so throughout this call, you're going to see different things on the different links on the slide about how to join different committees, different action groups that are going to lead us collectively towards debt cancellation. So what we're asking people to do is to log into some of these different groups, to participate in some of the groups that you'll hear about later tonight that are going to build this collective power, that's going to put the pressure on Biden, that's going to put the pressure on Congress, so on and so forth, that's going to lead us to this cancellation. Moreover, on April 4th, mark it in your calendars, we're having a national action in Washington, D.C. So another thing that's going to come up is a link for you to hop in to sign up, like how to participate in that by showing up in Washington, D.C. or doing something locally. So again, just to stress, tonight, the main purpose of this meeting is to talk about how we fight and how we win debt cancellation. And everyone on this call is going to have the option to jump into a different group that's going to be playing a really important role in that. That leads us to the agenda. So Rochelle.
Thanks, Jason. All right, so our agenda, we started off with an amazing song by Tamara Anderson. Thank you so much. And we have an icebreaker. If you haven't had a chance to fill it out, there's a link in the chat. Jason let us know just how we got here. Actually, no, we haven't gotten to that. We're gonna begin with discussing how we got here. We have two amazing guest speakers, Kendra Brooks and Siddiqui. We're gonna discuss how we win and give an overview of the action teams. We're going to be able to go into breakout rooms and have an opportunity to strategize and plan within the breakout rooms within the action teams. And then we'll come back together for commitments and a closing chant. So yeah, the Debt Collective has been at this for years on years. I've learned tons from folks. It's full of heavy hitters. And one of my favorite humans who I've been graciously organizing next to for the last year or so, Hannah.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. The favorite human feeling is totally mutual. And one thing Rochelle did not say about me, I have about $80,000 of student debt together with my husband. But if we go to our siblings on both sides, we're at probably $500,000. Okay, so we are winning. Jason said it. We have never been this close to student debt abolition. And I'm here to share a little bit about how we got to this moment. I'm going to do a whirlwind of debt collective history over the last 10 years to show how far we've come, to show some of our extraordinary wins, but also to show some real lessons learned. And I feel like that's super important. So this is the image that you saw in the opening slide. This is actually an image from 2011 during Occupy Wall Street. Occupy student debt recognized what was called 1T Day. It was actually in 2011 that student debt hit $1 trillion. And you see us here in the streets, right? So I want to draw folks' attention in this whirlwind history that I'm about to give to the diversity of tactics we need to win. Any strong union uses a diversity of tactics. And here, of course, you see street protest. So this day in 2011, reporters showed up, right? Reporters covered it. And one reporter basically mocked us. He said, and I'm quoting here, "What happened to their proposal to cancel student debt and make college free?" And then he responded to his own question. He said, "Hardly anyone cared." And yet here we are 10 years later, and we are about to win. So never let anyone tell you that this is impossible, right? So building out of Occupy Wall Street, there was a group of us who wanted to focus on starting a debtors union based on this really simple provocation. Alone, our debts are a burden, right? Jason talked about this. We feel isolated, we feel ashamed, we feel powerless, we feel disempowered. But together, organized, they make us powerful. Our collective debt can give us leverage over the systems that exploit us, right? That's the vision that we used to form the Debt Collective in 2014. So at that time, the Corinthian colleges were the largest for-profit chain in the country. And we started meeting with indebted former students of Corinthian colleges. You see Nathan pictured here. Nathan, big up if you're on the call. These students were already organized, and the Debt Collective started working with them toward two goals. One, a pilot debt strike, the nation's first student debt strike, and two, a new legal tool called defense to repayment. And defense to repayment would allow students who held debts from for-profit colleges to legally, right, as opposed to a strike, to legally dispute their debt with the Department of Education. So in 2015, after a really intensive retreat with strikers, the Corinthian 15, you see them pictured here, went public with the nation's first debt strike. And here's one lesson that I really want to be clear about tonight as we stand on the verge of maybe another student debt strike, right? Requests to join this strike poured in from all over the country. But rather than just adding names, debt collective organizers talked to each would-be striker to ensure that they understood the potential consequences: garnished wages, garnished tax returns, the government seizing your Social Security or disability benefits, alongside, of course, your trashed credit score. So one thing I want to make clear, these 15 people, they already weren't paying, right? They couldn't pay. And so just like Dr. Brooks, just like Rochelle said at the beginning, they turned that can't pay, where they were suffering individually, suffering the consequences individually, into won't pay, into a politicized collective action, right? Other hundreds of people joined the strike because they understood the consequences and they were ready to take them on. But the thousands and for thousands of people, those draconian consequences understandably were too much. They also needed other tactics to build collective power, right? So that's where this defense to repayment came in. So we put this tool online. Again, it's a tool of legal mutual aid that allowed folks who held debts from for-profit colleges to dispute those debts with the Department of Education. 82,000 people used it. 82,000 people used it. And after that, debt collective union members were invited to Washington, D.C. to meet with the Department of Education, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and others. And our defense to repayment tool eventually actually became the law of the land. The Department of Education swiped it, they put it up on their website. It is now the law of the land. So in the blink of the first 3 years of organizing, the nation's first debtors union changed federal policy for folks who hold debts from for-profit colleges quickly and powerfully. The strike itself wielded some symbolic power, right? But the tactic that was the most effective and unified the most people at lower risk was this defense to repayment tactic. So then you see 2019 through 2021, student debt cancellation starts to roll in, right? Folks are posting on Facebook. Here, not only have my debts been canceled, but here is the money that the government is sending back to me from what I paid already. Under Obama, we won $600 million of debt cancellation. Under Trump and his Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, a couple billion more, although you have to look, see this red arrow. Betsy DeVos signed each discharge notice with extreme displeasure, which of course gave us extreme pleasure. Are you kidding me? So awesome. And then under Biden, we've been winning still, right? So the defense to repayment piece of legal mutual aid to date has won about $4 billion in student debt cancellation for folks who hold it from for-profit colleges. So here's another lesson we've learned. Discharge under Obama, debt cancellation under Trump, debt cancellation under Biden. If we build enough collective power, we can win no matter who is in the White House. That's what true collective power means. Okay, but even as these billions of dollars of debt cancellation start to roll in, we faced major challenges. And I want to name two here because we're still dealing with them, right? First, and you've heard me say it, defense to repayment only works for folks who hold debts from for-profit colleges, and it doesn't even work for all of them. But our organizing has always been about all student debt, right? So one of the challenges has been, how do we escalate our fight for those of us who didn't attend for-profit colleges? Second challenge I want to note here, even if people are getting their debts canceled, and they are, right? It's up to like $10 billion in debt cancellation from various tactics. If there is no option for public college, and I saw there was a high schooler putting something in the Padlet, if there is no option for public college, by which we mean free college, then people will go into debt all over again. So let me state it clearly right here. The Debt Collective has and always will fight for the abolition of all student debt and free public college. Again, it used to exist, but it should again. So that brings me to 2019. Ilhan Omar, who you see here, Pramila Jayapal, announced their legislation, College for All, that would cancel all student debt and make public college free again. And those demands should sound familiar. And so they invited Debt Collective members to announce the litigation in Washington, D.C., acknowledging that the Debt Collective had been making these demands for years. So you see Pam Hunt in the back left with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Tom Goki, who you'll hear from tonight. So Pam's fiery speech at that event, pictured here with Bernie Sanders, I don't have enough time to play it, but it's on our YouTube channel. You should totally listen to it. Pam is fire. Talked about what Rochelle also talked about, right? This is Pam's last line, and I'm quoting Pam. She says, "I am not here for debt forgiveness. I am seeking justice. And the only justice is full debt cancellation, right? So that's College for All. Biden Jubilee 100 featuring yours truly, Dr. Virtual Brooks, second from the left, right? With Biden's election, we did launch a student debt strike for all debtors, starring none other than Dr. Brooks. And this should also be a moment of reflection for us. And I'm going to slow down because I'm getting to the end here, but I want folks to think about this because I know folks are itching for a debt strike and we're down to help folks, but I want you to hear this. Even before the pandemic, in other words, even before the payment pause, more than half of student debtors already were not paying, 55%. 1 million new student debtors went into default every single year, right? So millions of us already weren't paying, and most of us, all of us, haven't paid over the last 2 years. It shows us that the government doesn't need our money, right? So this means a couple of things. First, a student debt strike doesn't actually produce the same kind of leverage that other debt strikes might, right? Because the government doesn't need the fucking money, excuse my language. But of course, it is still a worthwhile tactic as part of a broader strategy. And the Biden Jubilee 100 used multiple tactics to keep power going, right? Media coverage, pushing local resolutions in Philadelphia, Cambridge, Los Angeles, and beyond, and helping to seed a phenomenal week of action in 2021. Here we are in LA, you want to thank Black women, cancel student debt. Here they are in New York in partnership with the Illuminator, cancel the debt, close the racial wealth gap, invest in public college. Here we are in San Diego. Here we are in Philly, right? There were actions in Knoxville. There were actions in Colorado. There were actions in Camden. There were actions all over. And here's one thing that was in the midst of the pandemic, but in a lull, and we were all being COVID safe, as you can see, that I want to draw your attention to, a crucial strategy that has actually emerged really recently. Joe Biden, we have now proven, has the authority to cancel all federal student loan debt. President Biden, you can see the link here. President Biden can cancel all federal student loan debt with a simple executive order. So we even wrote the entire executive order for him in collaboration with movement lawyers. You can find it at that link. All he has to do is sign this piece of paper. So look how far we've come. A decade ago, we were mocked for demanding student debt cancellation and free college for all. Now, as a result of street protests, debt strikes, creative direct action, legal mutual aid, union negotiating in Washington, DC, the announcement of federal legislation, right, college for all, local ordinances, national weeks of action, creative media strategies, we have proven that all it takes is Joe Biden picking up a pen. And we are here today, tonight, to continue building the power that will make him do that, because this is how we're going to win. So please stay tuned on this call, how to plug into those action teams. That's going to be what the breakout rooms are all about. And as I think Jason, but maybe Rochelle said, mark your calendar for the 4th, April 4th in Washington, DC. That's going to be live. And for now, I will turn it back to our facilitators to introduce some really outstanding special guests.
Thank you, Hannah. Yeah, so history is on our side, and if we keep our hand on the plow, we will make history. So let's do that. And someone who's been making history, it's a great honor for me to introduce because we are kind of neighbors here in Philadelphia. They say bad things happen in Philadelphia, but Kendra Brooks happens in Philadelphia and makes shit happen. So like, I am so glad to have Kendra on this call. And Kendra really played a key role. Kendra Brooks is council member of Philadelphia. Kendra played a key role in starting a different tactic that we've been employing across the country. You're also going to hear from Siddiqui about this, where we have actual cities or city councils saying we have to cancel the debt. We have to cancel all the debt because this isn't just weighing down individuals, it's weighing down entire metropolitan areas and elsewhere. And so this is a collective struggle that these members of our city, Philadelphia, took up, led by Kendra Brooks. Kendra, I saw your name on the call. It's all you. Please give us a message and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to begin by thanking the Debt Collective for having me, and to everyone here today who is tirelessly fighting for full student debt cancellation now. My name is Kendra Brooks, and I'm a city council member at large for the city of Philadelphia. Philadelphia is the poorest, biggest city in the country. and one where student loan crushes working class people, especially people of color. I'm also the first ever Working Families Party City Council member in Philadelphia. So I'm so inspired to be a part of this bold, multiracial, intergenerational movement to transform higher education from a commodity, but make it a public good. Because as a third party elected official who came out of activism, I know that it is the grassroots movements and courageous actions like this that will deliver on the promise of economic and racial justice and the financial freedom that our communities need and deserve. That's why after I joined the Debt Collective last January for the Jubilee event, I decided to introduce a resolution to the city of Philadelphia, City Council, calling on Biden's administration to follow through on their campaign promises and uses their powers bestowed upon them to cancel all student loan debt. And we all know why we deserve full student loan cancellation. We need to close the racial wealth gap. We need to provide working class families, especially Black women, who shoulder a disproportionate amount of the nation's debt, with the opportunity to build wealth, to buy a home, and provide a good life for their kids. To give our nurses and teachers and other frontline workers the economic relief that they need. And we also know that we've been bailing out Wall Street for decades, and our country has no problem providing economic relief and tax breaks for billionaires. But here's the thing, it's just not logical for progressives and leftists. It's a political, popular idea, and it goes across the political spectrum. And that's why when my resolution was voted on, it passed unanimously. That means establishment Democrats, progressives, moderate Democrats, and even the Republicans voted to approve this call to the Biden administration. And after we did it here in Philadelphia, dozens of other cities and municipalities followed suit, sending a clear message to our president and his administration that we will not back down. We will not forget about the promises that were made to us on the campaign trail. As someone who holds $80,000 plus in student loan debt between me and my one daughter, with two others heading to college in the next couple of years, I know how stressful and shameful this experience about debt can be. And while I am fortunate now to be in a position where I can make payments on that debt, I know so many other people like me whose debt is holding them back from living the lives they deserve. With the midterm elections coming up and meaningful legislation like the Build Back Better agenda and the Voting Rights Act being held up by corporate Democrats, the Biden administration cannot afford to continue to kick this can down the road. We demand full student loan cancellation now. So I want to thank the Debt Collective and everyone with student loan fighting for debt-free futures for all. We deserve it, our children deserve it, and the generations after us deserve it. Let's keep up the fight, everyone.
Right on, Kendra, dropping the mic. Thank you very much. Everyone, round of applause. If you can unmute for a second for Kendra.
Yeah, right on.
Thank you, Kendra.
Yay.
Right. And so now we want to pass the mic over to another fantastic ally, someone in struggle with us, Siddiqui, who is the second-term mayor of Cambridge, Massachusetts, another city that passed another resolution. Sambul, thank you so much for joining us. It's all you.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm so excited to join all of you this evening. A huge thank you to the Debt Collective for inviting me to speak, and thanks to everyone on the Zoom for being part of this movement. And a special thank you to Councilwoman Kendra Brooks for sharing your story and for the work you're doing for Philadelphia. I, along with many of you, 1 in 5 Americans and over 1 million Massachusetts residents have student debt. So I stand with you all in this fight. I have about 150K in debt myself. So I'm currently in the public service loan forgiveness program. But as we know, along with many of the repayment programs that exist, the federal government doesn't make it easy. So the advocacy and the work the Debt Collective is doing for so many is so important. And to support this work, the Cambridge City Council also sent a resolution to President Biden calling for debt cancellation. And our resolution stated that many Cambridge residents hold student debt and have felt a huge relief thanks to the payment pause. And luckily, the payment pause was recently extended thanks to you, all of you who kept the pressure up. But a pause is not enough. We need cancellation. And there's no better time than right now. Canceling student debt would have a huge impact on so many of the other issues that I work on every day as mayor. I see how student loans are disproportionately affecting people of color, women, young people. And when student debt is canceled, I know it will create a huge boost in economic mobility for each of those communities. And this is why canceling student debt is, as we know, a racial justice issue and an economic justice issue. It's one of the easiest and fastest ways to close the racial wealth gap in this country and will help chip away at economic inequality. In Cambridge, I've seen our constituents how debt and how student debt affects them all the time. For so many of our residents who graduate our public high school and attend a 2-year or 4-year college, they end up dropping out after an average of 1.5 and 2 years. They're taking on loans. Many of them are students of color, immigrants, who are left with debt instead of a degree. So we've also heard tonight that student debt cancellation is only one step toward an equitable higher education system. We also have to make public college free, as Hannah explained, and ensure that everyone has access to education without the burden of debt, which is why we have to keep fighting for both issues at once. I'm so grateful for all the amazing work you're doing here. We have to keep the pressure up. There is so much stigma attached to having debt, and the Debt Collective has really given a huge and important voice and has made people not feel alone. So really want to thank you all for your amazing advocacy and everything that you're doing. So thanks again for inviting me this evening, and I stand with you. Take care.
Right on, Sambul, everyone, please, a round of applause. Thank you so much. The mayor of
Thank you,
Cambridge.
Sambul.
Yeah, thank you. Woo.
Thank you very much.
So I want to just highlight something that Sambul just said that is so important. Can everyone just take like 5 seconds to think about like how good this pause on student debt payments has been for you? Like there's a moratorium. We haven't had to pay these debts. What is it, going on in 1.5 to 2 years, right? Okay, that feels good. But that shit's gonna come to an end. And Joe Biden's gonna let that shit come to an end if we don't do something about it. So we got like what, 2-3 months till May 1st. The moratorium, the pause will end, and we're all gonna have to start paying, including everyone else out there, we're gonna have to start paying our loans again. That's not good. So what are we gonna do? We need to talk about what we're going to do, and now we talk about doing it. So everybody stand up. This is where we got to get into this. We have to pick some place to get involved, and we're going to give you options now about how you can log in and get into one of these different coalitions that's going to lead us to debt cancellation. We have a political squad. We have a group that's going to build coalitions with labor and other groups. We have a different group that's going to work on local actions and events. We have folks that are going to help them do art and design, and we have another group that's going to work on different types of payment strikes. So what we're going to hear now is from different people that are going to head up some of these groups, and this is how you can log in or sign into one of these groups and get involved in some of the actions that are going to lead towards the permanent cancellation, not just the pause. Again, April 4th, Washington, D.C., sign up for the Action Network, sign up on the Action Network form in order to get into one of these groups. And let's start with the political squad.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Dr. Brooks, Hannah, Councilwoman Brooks, Mayor Siddiqui, everyone that's spoken. My name is Braxton. I'm going to give a really brief presentation about the Political Action Squad. Let me see if I can move my screen. Okay, here we go. So there's a lot of words on the screen, but here's what the situation really is. When politicians, especially Democrats in particular, make a lot of noise about student debt cancellation, it really aids in moving President Biden. It aids in getting press attention. It aids in getting the attention of the Biden administration in general. So when Senator Warren, I'm sure many of you have seen, when Senator Schumer, when Representative Cori Bush, when Representative AOC, Ilhan Omar, and Presley, and many other elected officials really scream about how student debt cancellation is urgent, it really begins to move the needle in pressuring President Biden. So what we need is for people to join the Political Action Squad. So it's great if you, say for example, live in a town or a city, and then you can approach, say for example, your mayor and say, hey, we actually would really love for you to pass a resolution like the mayor of Cambridge did, or like the mayor of other small towns and large cities did as well, because that's going to get a lot of news, right? If the mayor of Miami makes a huge statement, that's going to really be useful in pushing this conversation forward. If you can get your Congress member to sign on to a resolution, or to even send a tweet, right? Even those things are really simple, and that really gets a lot of attention. So we need folks to help with research on politicians, local representatives, Congress members, things like that. So that's what the Political Action Squad is. I would hope that if that's something you're interested in, I'll put the link in a second. We would love for you to join the Political Action Squad. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen, and I'm the work group lead for art and design. Just like everyone else, I have a huge ton of debt. I'm a first generation Puerto Rican, Mexican, American who went to school for the first time in my family, and I am over $170,000 in student debt. I'm a full-time freelance graphic designer, illustrator, and educator. I teach our future. I'm an adjunct, and I politicize my journey, the hardships that I face owing this debt, and I use my skills and talent to volunteer with the Debt Collective. So I'm a chapter coordinator here in the Chicagoland area, and I'm our art and design work group lead, and I work alongside four amazing individuals: Braxton, Edgar, Hope, and Mike, if they're on this call, wave. But there's been many people who have helped to develop the design direction over the years for Debt Collective. So when it comes to the work group, we focus on all things visual that you see, branding, promotional, marketing materials, social media visuals, graphics. Braxton is our voice of social media, but we are designing the visuals that he gets to use. Flyers, posters, stickers. We also support the web team from time to time, designing graphics as needed. And for 2022, the big project that is likely on the books for us is a digital zine. So if you're interested in art and design, these are some examples of some of the work that we've created over the last few months. We've all been working together for a couple of years now, but we're always looking for additional help. So definitely jump into the art and design work group, the extra room they're going to put us out, and I'll share some more information on details about our upcoming meetings, and then just some more details on what we do together. And we'd love to have, if you have a skill or a talent relating to art, design, graphic design, art, media, videography, any of that, we'd love to have you a part of our group.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fred, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for joining, everyone. I'm working with the Debt Collective to head the action and event working group. So here to give you a quick synopsis. So as you can see, the Debt Collective has had a long history of putting on powerful actions that have made a lasting impact on this movement. So obviously you can see all the photos that Hannah shared, and here's a couple more as well. So basically we need y'all help. We need to build pressure from the bottom up to really force Biden to do the right thing. April 4th is our DC Day of Action, as everyone has mentioned, and we just need as much folks to show up as possible. We would love everyone to attend this group to specifically work on focusing for the DC action, but in the event that you can't make it, you can always use some of the past actions as a blueprint for your own local actions. So some of the things that we're going to be working on in this group is solidifying a basic plan amongst the organizing team. Obviously April 4th is our day, and Department of Ed building is going to be the location. So plan for outreach. I work with Braxton with social media press to get the word out there about this action. The logistics of it, co-sponsors, speakers, people who are live streaming, filming, photography, those are all things that we need to think about when it comes to this action. Inviting our contacts, partners, and initial planning for all of the meetings that are going to need to be had to make sure this goes smoothly. Obviously, we need to have roles, safety marshals, folks that are recording, people that are signing up participants for certain events, creating a list of the materials that we need in order to have the action, and having a meeting so we can make the banners, make all the art in order to show up and show out at DC. And also we want it to be very high energy. We're looking forward to having a band, maybe some trumpets to really make a loud presence in DC. So yeah, I'm really excited. This is super important. And if you're down to, to throw down and scheme with us, then join our working group.
All right, so my name is Eleni, and I feel a little bit like we're playing dodgeball or something. I pick you up, come to my team, be on the Building Coalitions team. So on the Building Coalitions team, we know that almost every single movement win in the history of movements, when it's gone from a demand that seemed impossible to inevitable, has been because the coalition fighting for that issue has broadened. So it hasn't just been, we know student debt isn't just affecting kids who are currently in college. We know our elders have debt. We know workers have debt. Earlier on the chat, folks were talking about the problem of architects' debt. So in this group, we're going to bring home exactly this point to show all the other groups that have debt and to bring them into the fold. So some of the we're building on some great examples here already. 30,000 workers in the Western Massachusetts labor affiliation passed a resolution calling to cancel all student debt. And we've also had professors coming together to stand up against student debt. And finally, there's a call also for the frontline healthcare workers, people who right now we're calling essential, and at the same time, we're forcing them into, the government is forcing them into debt. So if you're interested in getting to work to broaden out this base, come check out the Building Coalitions work group.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. So I just want to emphasize, any amount of time you can give matters. It helps. If you can give an hour a week, if you can give 10 hours a week, if you can give 1 hour a month, all that matters, and we want to have you involved in this struggle. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the breakout groups just described, and we're going to start to strategize and start.
Sorry, Jason, there's one more. There's one more. Sorry.
Oh, geez, I'm so sorry. Sorry, my fault.
Hey, I'm Thomas. As Hannah and others have said, the way we actually win student debt cancellation, the final step, is that Joe Biden is going to sign an executive order to issue broad-based cancellation. And so a lot of people have been coming to us saying, we want to organize a debt strike. We are ready to take direct action. We are ready to refuse to cooperate. And so there's this question of what leverage do we have to force Biden to sign that executive order? With a traditional labor union striking, they're putting material pressure on the management, on the owners, by refusing to work. As Hannah said, if we stop paying, the government's fine. We haven't been paying for 2 years. But we are also liberating our own money for ourselves, our families, our communities. We need that money. And it matters. The government doesn't need our money, but they do need our docile cooperation. So a payment strike is about becoming ungovernable. I do want to clarify some things, right? We are not asking people to destroy their financial lives, right? We are not asking people to intentionally default and take all of the consequences that come with that. A debt strike, as the Corinthian 15 determined, is anyone who is paying $0 a month. And even before the pandemic, most people were paying $0 a month. There are safe ways to get there. So this is about politicizing non-payment, doing it through collective action, and also experimenting to find other points of leverage. This is about escalating, right? We're just getting started. There are some other actions that maybe even have zero risk that are nonviolent and legal, but could result in material harm to the servicers or the Department of Education or these debt collectors. So if you're interested in helping us think through what a student debt strike looks like in this completely unprecedented moment, whereas AOC said we have a showdown in the next couple months, then join the payment strike working group, and we'll work our way towards it.
All right, so sorry about that, Thomas. Now is the time where we can join one of the groups. And as I was saying, every second you can give matters. And we really just appreciate as many people hopping in as possible. So we're gonna ask you to choose one of the different rooms, that each room is a different coalition, a different working group. And within those rooms, we'll start to strategize a little bit about what it is that we'll do, how we'll do it, when we'll meet, so on and so forth. So if you could please now decide on which.
I see in the chat, someone's asking if you can join 2 groups. Absolutely. When you click the link to register and choose a group, choose as many as you'd like that you can commit to, that you have the capacity to be involved in. For the breakout room, if you want to bounce back and forth, just make sure that you listen for important dates, because there'll be follow-up meetings for each of the squads.
Thank you, Rochelle. So on the bottom right of your screen, it says join a breakout room. And you should be able to enter into one of these rooms now. And we will see you in those breakout rooms. And then we will see you back here for some final words about how we win debt cancellation. So now is the time to join one of the rooms. We'll talk about those individual projects that you just heard about, and then we'll see everyone back.
All right, let's start it over. Let's start it over. We got it this time. All right. It is our duty to fight for freedom.
It is our duty to fight for freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and protect one another.
We must love and protect one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Amen. Our duty to fight for freedom.
It is our duty to fight for freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and protect one another.
We must love and protect one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
This time we're gonna get loud. We're gonna rattle the foundation. It is our duty to fight for freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our
duty to win.
We must love and protect one another.
We must love and protect one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
One more time. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Thank you. And our debts.
That's true.
Oh, I got the chills again. I keep getting the chills throughout this call. Oh my gosh, that was super powerful, folks. Let's keep this momentum going. Let's keep this love going, this protection for one another, and this fight for freedom. Let's keep it going. I hope to see you all in person, masked up. We're gonna keep it safe. April 4th, if you can. looking forward to our action teams announcements and seeing what you all, yes, DC, April 4th in person. We wanna see. I've been knowing these people for like 2 years and haven't seen them. So really looking forward to it. Solidarity. Does anybody else want to say anything?
Solidarity.
Solidarity.
Yes.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Jason. Everybody, please sign up on the Action Network form. If somebody could drop that link at least one more time, that is the way we will be able to keep in touch with you. You're welcome to sign up for multiple groups. As Dr. Brooks explained, it's just so fantastic. Thank you, Jason, Rochelle, special guests, amazing.